Before I start this episode, I just want to point out that it was recorded quite some time before it was released, as I'd arranged to go away. So some of the content may have changed in this interim period. I've been keeping my fingers crossed that not too much will have changed. As always, thank you for your continued support, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Cheers. Over to you, Gareth.
This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. Hurrah! We finally got a game or two to look forward to. Little did we know that when we travelled to Pristina in Kosovo back on the 17th of November 2019, did we think that we'd have to wait this long to see the boys again. Games against Italy, Denmark, Romania and Austria were scheduled, then cancelled. The European Championships of 2020 were postponed until next year. Now finally come the 5th of September, it will be 293 days since Kosovo, and the team will take to the field again, away in Reykjavik, Iceland. Sadly though, as I'm sure you're well aware, UEFA have advised supporters will not be allowed into the stadiums of Iceland or Denmark, who we play, a few days later on the 8th. Obviously, as soon as these fixtures were announced, we all got excited about going to the likes of Iceland. And it's likely we'd have only had a small allocation. Many would have missed out anyway. Flights got changed, rearranged, cancelled, but it's not going to be. Fair? Unfair? UEFA have decided. So I guess this is an unfair way of being fair. We all miss out. This period of time, 293 days, is the longest we, England, have gone without a game since the war years, and surpasses a period in 1940-41, where we drew against Scotland on the 11th of May 1940, and we didn't play until the 8th of February 1941, again against Scotland, and one that we lost. One thing I guess, at least we didn't lose that last game we'd played. Coming up, we'll digest Gareth's squad, which was announced on Tuesday the 25th of August, and we'll speak with Marc Boal from Iceland Football UK Twitter account, and Klaus from @Danish Footy on Twitter. As always, thank you for all the feedback on the previous episode, where we spoke with Rich Laverty about the Lionesses' new head coach, Serena Weigmann, and also CJ Joyner, who updated us on Block 109. That, and indeed all previous episodes, including the one where we spoke with Chris Temple, the stadium announcer at Wembley, and the one about the England C team, well, they're all in all the usual places. And if you happen to be passing the likes of iTunes, when you have a moment, why not pop a rating and a comment on there? It helps keep the podcast fresh in people's minds. Why not give it a share too? Tell your mates. Now we have a bit of a checkered history against both Iceland and Denmark. Iceland, well, we've only ever played them 3 times, where we've won one, drawn one, and of course we all know the most recent one, which I'm sure we'll touch on at some stage. The first time was actually a friendly back in 1982, away in Reykjavik. This was a bit of a strange one, as according to englandstats.com, this was played the day before the Finland friendly match. And originally this was a B-team match with a B-team selection. But after Iceland managed a brilliant draw, the Icelandic authorities persuaded the FA to classify the game as a full international. And for the likes of Steve Perryman and Paul Goddard, this was good news, as it meant they received an England cap each. However, they never won a second one. The game ended 1-1, with Goddard getting a debut goal. And it was 22 years until we met again, this time in a friendly tournament that also featured Japan, which was played at what was known as the City of Manchester Stadium at the time, Manchester City's home. And it was an FA summer tournament in 2004 ahead of that year's European Championships. And the result? England 6, Iceland 1, in a game where Sven famously changed every single player, 9 at half-time, and Paul Robinson and Jamie Carragher during the second half. And goals came from Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney got 2, Darius Vassell got 2, and 1 from Wayne Bridge, his one and only England goal. And then, of course, as I say, there was 2016, which saw the end of Roy Hodgson. Denmark, of course, we were due to face them at Wembley earlier in the year in what would have been the 20th meeting between the two. And we actually have a decent record against the Danes, winning 12 out of the 19, drawing 4 and lost 3. And the most recent meeting was back in 2014 in a friendly, which we won thanks to a late Daniel Sturridge goal. And our last trip to Copenhagen was a few years before in 2011. Again, a friendly, winning 2-1. And I guess the most significant game between the two was the round of 16 match during the 2002 World Cup in Japan, which we won 3-0. Fond memories of that one in Niigata. Bullet trains throughout the night there. There was a conga in the stands, raining as well, I seem to remember. Now, that last game against Kosovo saw a squad, if you cast your mind back, which featured the likes of Ross Barkley, John Stones, Fabian Delph, Danny Rose, Callum Wilson and Fikayo Tomori. None of those have been selected 10 months on. In fact, only 15 from that 24 return. Now we know that Gareth was watching games from his front room rather than stadiums, and as I mentioned a while back, this squad would be an interesting one, because he's previously said about picking players on form, and barring the clubs that had European or FA Cup games, Premier League teams and players had 9 matches to fulfil the season. So based on that, I was expecting to see a few new faces. So let's take a look at his 24, which later in the day was cut to 23. So there were 3 goalkeepers. Dean Henderson has been on loan at Sheffield United from Manchester United. He had a great season there. Jordan Pickford, an inconsistent season at Everton, it has to be said. And Nick Pope, who had a great season at Burnley. Defenders, Premier League winner Trent Alexander-Arnold, Premier League winner Joe Gomez as well. Eric Dyer from Spurs was last capped in the Nations League finals against Switzerland. He gets a recall, as does Michael Keane from Everton, who last played in the loss against the Czech Republic October last year. Harry Maguire of Manchester United. We'll come back to him. Tyrone Mings of Aston Villa. Kieran Trippier. He played 25 times in his first season with Atletico Madrid. Kyle Walker of Manchester City. Like Eric Dyer, last played against Switzerland in the Nations League last year. Midfielders. Phil Foden. Finally, a Manchester City star gets a call-up. Probably the biggest surprise it's taken this long. Mason Mount of Chelsea. He was the last England goal scorer, scored the 4th against Kosovo. And do you know what? I may have a fiver on him to get the first against Iceland, because we all know how football can throw up these funny little anomalies. Calvin Phillips, another surprise. Uncapped, he's aged 24, but already played 165 times for Leeds United with 12 goals to his name. A championship winner, and one I'm sure we'll be seeing lots of this coming season. And I'm not ashamed to say I didn't see this one coming. Declan Rice of West Ham, he's in. James Ward-Prowse of Southampton. He was last capped in the away game to Montenegro in March of last year. Harry Winks of Tottenham, another who was on the score sheet in the 4-0 win in Kosovo. And up front, Tammy Abraham of Chelsea. Mason Greenwood of Manchester United, aged 18 and uncapped, but he has played at under 15, under 17, under 18 and under 21 level for England. Danny Ings of Southampton, fully deserved in my opinion, although he may only come on as a sub, but plenty of goals this season proves he can still do it. One previous cap under Roy Hodgson, away to Lithuania when he came on as a sub. Harry Kane of Tottenham. Needs no introduction, but he has been in a 14-day self-isolation following his holiday to the Bahamas after the UK added it to the quarantine list. But by all accounts, he'll be only ready a couple of days before Iceland, so it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. He's currently got 45 caps. Will he add to his 32 goals? Marcus Rashford of Manchester United. Jadon Sancho, who's probably one of the players who's had one of the longer breaks as the Bundesliga started up long before the Premier League. And finally, Raheem Sterling of Manchester City. Liverpool's Jordan Henderson and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Leicester duo Ben Chilwell and James Maddison miss out through injury. It's a squad that's represented by 3 from Manchester United, Spurs and Manchester City, 2 from Everton, Liverpool, Chelsea and Southampton, and 1 each from Burnley, Aston Villa, Atletico Madrid, Leeds, West Ham and Borussia Dortmund. Now, it is a squad with an average age of 24.2. It's got 338 caps across it and 65 goals. Gareth Southgate has spoken on the young players and he said, "You are always questioning with those young players, when is the right time to move them up? Well, we felt now is a good time. We're a year away from the European Championships and let's see if they can start to break into that team, that squad. And it gives us great competition for places and they are realistic challenges." Obviously, there are a few players that can feel a little bit hard done by. Those who didn't make the cut. Chris Smalling had a great season at Roma, Lewis Dunk at Brighton, Wan-Bissaka, Manchester United. But I guess the biggest omission was, of course, Jack Grealish of Aston Villa. And he was trending on Twitter shortly after the whole squad announcement. Now, you can't deny his talent, and he's had a great season at Villa. But my own personal thoughts, and that's all they are that Gareth has taken his personality into account and perhaps doesn't think he fits in to his plans. His incident early in the lockdown period I don't think helped, for which he did apologise. Although there is Carl Walker and his lockdown misdemeanours, and he's managed to return to the squad. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just surmising, really. I don't know. But he's clearly frustrated. And he did like a tweet that was put out by Sky Bet, which mentioned that in the past, Gareth had gone on record as saying that he needed to gain more Premier League experience to earn a call-up. Well, this season gone, he played 36 times and scored 8 times. And when you put that up against Calvin Phillips, only experience being in the Championship, really doesn't make sense. To me, to Villa fans, to a lot of supporters. And I'm wondering if now he regrets choosing England over the Republic of Ireland. But in all seriousness, we've got 2 squads still to be announced this year in October and November. And injuries and performances permitting, if he doesn't get into either of those, then questions really will have to be asked. But it's not as if the door has been slammed shut in his face. Now, we mentioned Harry Maguire. He's been in the news. Of course, got himself into a little bit of trouble in Mykonos. On the same day as the squad was announced, he received a suspended sentence of 21 months and 10 days in prison. Gareth Southgate picked the squad and said that he'd spoken with Harry and have insight into the story, which is very different to what's been reported. I have no reason to doubt what he's telling me, and it's important he knows he's got my support at this moment. Harry regrets the fact that he's brought this sort of focus and attention to the team. He's apologised for that, but also has his own side of the story. But then following the sentencing that Maguire was given, later in the day, Gareth then announced, "In light of this evening's developments, I can confirm I have withdrawn Harry Maguire from the England squad for the matches against Iceland and Denmark. As I said earlier today, I reserved the right to review the situation. Having spoken to Manchester United and the player, I have made the decision in the best interest of all parties and with consideration of the impact on our preparations for next week. Be interesting to see how that pans out over the forthcoming weeks and months. So that's the squad. It'll be interesting to see how Gareth starts that first game, which is against Iceland. It's on the 5th of September. So let's find out a little bit about them. I'd like to welcome to the Three Lions podcast from the Icelandic Football UK Twitter account. Hello to Marc Boal. Hello, Marc.
Hello. Good to be on your podcast. Yeah, I'm fine.
Very welcome on. And immediately, let's just mention it. You are a Scotsman.
Yes. Yes.
Scotsman, but we're going to talk about Iceland. Well, let's get it out of the way first. How did this interest in Icelandic football come about?
I played against a couple of Icelandic teams in my younger days in the mid-80s, and I kept in touch with a few of the guys that I played against. And it just went from there. I first went to Iceland in 92. I was over there, and as I say, kept in touch with the guys. More and more people spoke to me about what was going on in Scotland. We'd send videos over at Icelandic football, Scottish football. Back in the VHS days, of course, there's no such thing as internet as what it is now. But as I say, we kept in contact. I've got quite a few contacts in Scotland with clubs, and we started getting teams coming over, and it's taken off since. And I just started writing blogs, but I was wondering how it would be to actually get into publishing, so I started the magazine. And we've done 4 magazines, which I travelled the whole of Iceland, north, south, east and west. And it's got quite a lot of good feedback from around the world. So it was quite a popular magazine. Yeah,
so this magazine, which was an online magazine, and which I've seen is a great read, but has resulted in writing a book about Icelandic football.
Yes, I've got a book coming out. Hopefully it'll be in February 2021. I've got quite a lot of it penned in so far. A lot of it's going to be, I get a lot of people asking about clubs, details, statistics, and Icelanders are not very good at keeping everything statistical in one place. It's all in different pages here and there and everywhere. So I'll get a book published, and it'll have everything documented from when the league started in 1912 right up to the present date, and a lot of information about the Icelandic national team. I've got some interviews lined up with some of the top players in Iceland for it as well. So it's going to be a mix of everything.
Oh, well, lovely. I mean, the book is called 64 Degrees North, isn't it? Icelandic football.
Yeah.
So you say that's due out sort of early next year, did you say?
Yeah, it'll be probably January or February. It depends on how long the Icelandic League goes on for this year, because I might have a short time to try and turn it over. But I've got most of the stats and everything all done already, so it's just a matter of adding in. But the Icelandic FA have turned around and said that they might call the league if they can't get the games played. As long as there's 2/3 of the season done, they'll call the league then, as winners and relegation will come into force then. Hopefully it'll run right through.
No, well, this is obviously all because of the COVID situation. Obviously, there's going to be a few England fans travelling over to Reykjavik. What do you know about the situation and procedures with the COVID in Iceland?
Well, it's changing from week to week, as it is in the UK and everywhere else. But I know at the present, for any fans travelling over, they'll have to have a test at the Keflavik Airport, the international airport. They have to get tested on arrival. The process will probably be, they'll get the results back within 3 or 4 hours, from what I'm hearing. But if they're staying longer in Iceland, they've got to do a second test. But they'll have to check the UK government's website, because, as I say, there's countries that are on the red list, some are on the green list. And for England fans that might be travelling in from other countries, foreign countries, from Germany or whatever, they'll need to keep up to date with the protocol for going to Iceland, because I've had a lot of information that there's still going to be a lot of guys going over to support Iceland.
Yeah.
Support England, sorry.
Yes. Now, we're speaking ahead of when the squad is announced due to both of our availabilities. The squad you've told me, is going to be announced Friday the 29th.
Yeah.
What do we know about the Icelandic national team? There was the one player that I immediately remembered from recent times was the man of the match from that infamous 2016 game, which was it Ragnar Signesson?
Yeah.
Is he still playing?
Yes, he's still playing. Ragnar Sigurdsson, he's out at Copenhagen just now, but he's been carrying an injury. There's getting onto the Iceland team. I really don't know how they're going to set it up here. There's a lot of guys at the end of the twilight of their careers. Alfred Finnbogason, who's a very important player out in Germany just now, he's just made a comeback in the last few weeks as well. And they've got Aaron Nursing, the captain. He's playing out in the Middle East. I think it's in Qatar. I think he's playing at. Is he going to be available to get back? Because he's going to have to fly through X amount of different countries to actually get to Iceland. So there could be issues again with the quarantine rules. They've got two boys out in Russia just now. Horder Magnusson, defender, and the rising star of Icelandic football in recent years, Arnar Sigurdsson. He's only 21. He's with CSK Moscow. But there's been rumours that he could be coming towards English shores in the next year or two.
Ah, okay.
Very, very promising player.
It may be an Icelandic team that is really affected by the current situation with players in quarantine.
Yeah, definitely. As I say, most of the Icelandic squad is playing in and around Europe at the present moment. And as we were speaking earlier about the FIFA directive that came out last night about players quarantined from clubs. They don't have to send players to a national team if they're going to get quarantined for more than 5 days. That could be a big issue for clubs who are starting European games. Some of the lower league countries, that the Champions League started already for Young Boys of Bern play tomorrow. So you've got guys that are playing in the kind of smaller teams in Europe who could be participating in these games. Personally, at the present moment, I think UEFA's biting off more than can chew. We have this Nations League playing with the pandemic that's going on just now. I really think just try to get club football on, and the European games, the European club competitions is big enough without adding more stress for players in the clubs as well if they're going to get stuck in quarantine areas when the clubs are leading them back. So Iceland have only got two home-based players who should be in the squad. Is Hans Haldursson, the goalkeeper. He's playing with Valur, and Kari Arnarsson, who's playing with Vikingar Reykjavik. That Vikingar Reykjavik, as we were speaking about, are away to a team in Slovenia or Slovakia in the Europa League this week.
Right.
So Kari's going to have to quarantine for 6 days when he comes back.
It's a real headache for the manager. Is it Eric Hamren?
Eric Hamren, yeah.
Because I didn't realise that because Lars Lagerbäck was the manager when we last met, and it's quite a famous name, but he's obviously no longer there. What's Eric Hamren like?
There's mixed views with him in Iceland. I mean, he's got a decent enough rate. They've played 20 games. He's got a 40% win rate. Won 8 games, drew 5, and lost 7. But I don't think the Icelandic public are consumed with him too much. There's something just missing. I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it.
Right.
I think the Icelandic public, they warmed to Lars Lagerbäck and Heimir Hallgrímsson when they were in charge. The football was a bit more attacking and free-flowing, but it's basically still the bare bones of the old squad, it's an ageing squad now.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one to pinpoint exactly. Some of his tactics can be a bit, the way he sets up the team. They usually played 4-4-2, and it's been changing to 5-3-2, 4-4-1-1. But Gylfi is the main man. He'll probably sit in the hole. And Gylfi's kind of lost a bit of his oomph last year with Everton as well. There's a lot of fans wanting him out of the club. So they've not played together for, when was their last game? I think their last game was in January, but that was just an Iceland B team that went out to America.
Okay.
So the last major game, I think, was against Moldova before the COVID situation broke in.
Yeah.
So they've not played for a long while, and there's injuries and stuff in amongst the squad as well. So it's going to be a difficult one.
Every national team is going to be in that same boat, aren't they? Though.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the feeling with the Nations League with the Icelandic public, because they were revived, weren't they? They were initially relegated, then UEFA reshuffled, and they were revived after I saw they lost to Switzerland. Well, they lost all 4 of their games, didn't they? All 4 to Switzerland and Belgium.
Yeah, I think to be realistic, I think Icelanders know their team's not good enough to be sitting in that position that they're in just now. I think most Icelanders would like to see them being able to try and play a competitive match rather than going out and getting ripped apart by the likes of Belgium or France or whatever. It's very, very difficult for them to maintain the levels that they've achieved over the last few years when they had the Euros and then the World Cup. I would say after that World Cup, Iceland should have tried to have rejigged their whole national team with a lot of guys who, as I say, they're at the tail end of their career and they're still playing now. Kari Arnarsson's 37. Ragnar Sigurdsson's 34, and that's just some of them that are in there. There's only a few younger ones that are in, but I mean, there is some guys coming through just now. Albert Gudmundsson, who's with AZ Alkmaar, he's a promising winger, but he can move into a kind of more attacking role as well. And you've got the golden boy Arnar Sigurdsson, who's out at CSK Moscow. They're the 2 guys that I think Iceland will be basing their team around in the next 5 or 6 years, because I don't know how long they can go with this aging team and the injuries that are coming with the ages as well. I mean, a lot of the guys, like you've got Johan Gudmundsson, who's out at Burnley. He had a lot of injuries last year as well. I was trying to check up the other day to see if he was still injured or if he's coming back. It's a team, I don't know, I think there's going to be a big void with Icelandic national football in the next year or 2. The next batch of guys that are coming in, I wouldn't say have got enough experience to go into national level yet. There's still a lot of young boys across Europe who are 21, 22, but they've just not got the experience. And I would reckon 4 or 5 of these guys will probably be finished maybe this year. Yeah. So it's going to be a tough one for Iceland to maintain the level. I just can't see it. I think there's going to be a black spot for maybe 2 or 3 years before they can reshuffle, and whoever they're going to keep from that aging team just now, there'll probably 1 or 2, it's in their late 20s, who'll be the pioneers of the team, and then they'll have to get the younger guys to kind of build around them. Yeah. But it's going to be a difficult job for Hamrin to set up against England, because everybody knows England have got such a good team and they're quick on the ball, and Iceland will just be playing their usual game. It's hitting England in the counter attack. That's simple as that. That's just the way it's going to be.
Well, we shall watch and wait and find out. I mean, we know that there's going to be a fair few England fans going out there. What can you tell us about Reykjavik? Because I say I've been. It's a lovely place. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about sort of places to go and see, food and drink?
Well, for drinking, I've got quite a lot of them ask me about the prices of drink. That's the usual. The English guys are wanting their pint of lager. You'll find Happy Hour on their phones. Click onto the Happy Hour and get the app.
Okay.
And that basically tells you what pubs in Reykjavik are doing special prices at any time during the day. So you'll get one pub, it's £4 a pint. And you can get pints for reasonable. You'll get them for £3.50, £4 a pint, okay, if they check. But they might have to do a lot of wandering, because a lot of these pubs will only have it for 2 hours or whatever, 3 hours. But I'm saying if the English are over, there'll be probably quite a lot of them not wanting to do the Happy Hour and try and get some money due to the COVID carry on. But there's been a few asking me about watching the match, obviously the game's going to be played behind closed doors.
Yes.
But I don't know if you've seen the National Stadium. There's only two sides of it that actually have stands.
Yeah.
But you can actually see the pitch from behind the goals at either end. They'll be able to see the match from behind the fence.
Oh, from ground level?
Yeah. So there's been a few have asked about that as well. I think there's another couple of guys who have been to Reykjavik already. They said, I'm going to the fens because I've watched a game from there before, kind of thing. So I hope the weather's nice for them.
Yes, because it can get quite cold, can't it?
Yeah. They'll still be able to see the game. I dare say there'll be a lot of Icelanders that will be wanting to go down and see the likes of Sterling and stuff as well, just to see them in the flesh. So it could be quite busy. So the police might come in and move them on or whatever. So I don't know how it's going to work, to be quite honest. Something I was going to speak to you about was there's been quite an English and Scottish theme behind Icelandic football from the very, very beginning.
Okay.
I don't know if you know, it was a Scottish guy that actually brought football to Iceland.
No.
In 1888, I think it was. I'm actually writing about this guy in the book, John B. Ferguson, a printer from Glasgow. He actually got the Icelanders involved in football. But there's been quite a few over the years. There's been Scottish and Icelandic managers of the national team. I don't know, some of the Leicester and Southampton fans might remember a Tony Knapp.
Right.
From the 70s and 80s. He's had two spells as Iceland's national coach. The Icelanders always look at the UK football and try to bring a theme over to Iceland to kind of teach the guys their new ways and help them with their development. So there's been quite a big flurry of that over right through the 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s.
And I guess that's the same with sort of Scandinavian football as well, isn't it? I guess I remember having a podcast chat with someone in Norway where English football was the only thing really screened on the telly or sport.
Yeah.
So a lot of Scandinavian fans have got an English team or Scottish team.
You want to see it in Iceland, it gets my wick, to be quite honest. I mean, you've got guys over there who are season ticket holders at Man United, Liverpool, Ipswich. It's crazy. And I say to them, go and watch your local team. How many games have you been to this season to see Keflavik or Valur or KR Reykjavik? I've only been to 4 games, but they've been to 6 or 7 Liverpool games or 9 games, and you're going, come on.
Yeah.
Support your own club. They've got huge fan bases over in Iceland. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. And
you'll probably see that in some of the pubs as well. There's scarves and pennants that you'll probably find scattered about. There's a pub up next, quite close to the National Stadium, Olver pub. And it's a sports bar up there as well. So if it's a rainy night and the England fans can't get moved on from outside the stadium, it's a 5-minute walk away and it's a big sports bar. So they'll be able to get a beer in there. And there's a lot of memorabilia for football clubs from all around the world that's in this pub.
And that's called the Over bar?
Olver pub.
Olver. Okay.
Olver, Olver Sports Bar. They'll see it on Google Maps or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure they'll find it.
Okay, and once again, what was that app?
Appy Hour. It's just called Appy Hour. APPY Hour. Appy Hour.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time. That book is 64 Degrees North, and maybe we can speak again when the return leg at Wembley takes place.
Certainly can. Yeah.
And once again, that Twitter account is just at Marc Boal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just Icelandic Football UK at Marc Boal.
That's lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, let's speak again.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, it's time to welcome our next guest on the Three Lions podcast. He is the owner of the Twitter account at Danish Footy. I'd like to welcome Claus Rondbjerg. Hello, Claus.
Hello, Russell. Great to be here.
Very welcome. We were due to speak back in March, weren't we?
We were. Then something happened. I don't know what it was. Something.
Oh, if only we didn't know what it was.
That would be much better, wouldn't it?
Yes, of course, England were due to play Denmark at Wembley back in March as the friendly. Obviously, it got postponed, but then we were drawn together in the Nations League. So I thought, well, let's have a chat and see what you know about the Danish team and what's going on in Denmark. First of all, just tell us a little bit about at Danish Footy. How did that come about?
Well, the reason I actually created the account was that in 2012, I think it was, the Euro for the under 21 teams came about, and that was in Denmark. And a lot of the Danish journalists didn't write in English or didn't reach out for the journalists in other countries like Spain, France, Italy, England, you have it. So I created the account and I started translating some of the news coming out about the Danish teams and Danish players and so on. And just took off from there. And now I'm here 8 years later and I'm still doing it. And,
But we're very grateful for it as well. Thank you. Because otherwise I wouldn't have come across you.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, right?
Yeah. Well, it is the Nations League. It's going to get back underway. We're in a group that features yourselves, England and Iceland. Denmark were promoted from League B last year up to League A. After you saw off some of our local rivals, you beat Wales and drew with the Republic of Ireland a couple of times, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask some Irish people, I think you would say that they've played Denmark too many times now. We actually played them in the playoffs as well before going to the World Cup, where we famously won 5-0. We've played some of your neighbours, and now it's time to play the big side. I mean, we got out to the big group, and now we play. Firstly, we take on Belgium. That's the first game, and then we take on England. So
yeah. I mean, the last time that we met, I think, was back in 2014, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, but I was just going to say that we haven't actually played each other that many times. If you look at the calendars throughout the years, I mean, if you talk about friendlies, sure. I mean, we played some friendlies against you. I remember Christian Eriksen actually got his debut against England. I think it was back in 2010. I can't quite remember. I think it was March 2010, where he actually was brilliant. Played against another Devon champ, Jack Wilshere. And I remember being asked the question about will it be Jack Wilshere or was it Christian Eriksen? And not to gloat or anything, but Christian Eriksen totally stole the show of that one. He almost scored as well and made an assist. I mean, that was his breakthrough match, or the breakthrough in general in Europe, I think. I mean,
I think it'd be safe to say he's had a pretty much of a longer lasting career than Jack Wilshere as well.
Sure, I mean, now we have to see how he fares in Italy, but I think that you can't. I mean, that's the beauty about football, isn't it? You see a young talent coming through, and then before you know it, he's a star player for your team, and he is. Yeah. I mean, you can't say Denmark without thinking Christian Eriksen, right? So, I think that's some of the beautiful things about the game is that you start to watch a game, and then you see how it progresses or the way it progresses, and you can directly see, okay, you got something special here. And then 10 years down the line, he's, the first man on the team sheet. So.
He is the main man, isn't he? And of course, we know all about him. He had a fair amount of time at Tottenham, and the Danish team has been announced. And I had cast my eye through it, and I was like, "Oh, recognise you. Oh yeah, forgotten about you, but I do recognise you." There's quite a few players that are familiar to English supporters. Kasper Schmeichel, obviously. Brentford fans will know of one or two. Is it Henrik Dalsgaard and Christian Norgard?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And there was Matthias Zanker, was formerly at Huddersfield. Obviously, we've mentioned Christian Eriksen. Martin Braithwaite as well, which I've got to be honest, I didn't even know he was Danish. But he played for Middlesbrough at one stage. But
he was.
Tell us a little bit about the Danish side and who we should look out for. Who could be a potential threat?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I have to say that the coach is new. It will be his not his first game because that'll be against Belgium, but against you will be his second game. Kasper Julman recently got hired instead of the older coach, Åke Hareide, Norwegian. Kasper comes in with experience from FC Nordsjælland. I don't know if you know that club, but that's a Danish club here, and he also been a head coach in German Bundesliga for Mainz.
Right.
So it'll be his second match against you. So that's something to look out for, because I think you will ask me sooner or later, well, how will they perhaps line up? And I have no idea.
Right.
I can perhaps mention 5 players who will start. The rest will be like up in the air, up until kickoff, I think. You mentioned some of the players you know from England. I also think that people will know Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who's just recently signed for Tottenham. And I also hope that they will recognize Andreas Christensen from Chelsea. Other than that, the players that he has decided to call up for this are, in Denmark at least, pretty well known, because it's almost the same squad Åke Hareide, the last coach that was actually selected. They are only, and I say only in air quotes, 3 debutants in the side.
Right.
But who to look out for? If I didn't say Christian Eriksen, I would be lying, wouldn't I? I mean, he is our main man. He is the one who makes us tick. He is the one with the assist. He scores goals. And if you ask me if he's a world-class player, I would say he's up there. I'm not sure in his current form if he is, but he can be. And I also think that he will become world-class once again, once he settles in Italy and Inter. Other than that, I would say look out for Simon Kjær, our captain, plays for AC Milan, recently just transfers there, and hasn't lost the game since he transferred.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, and he's really, I'm not even exaggerating or anything, he's really relived the defensive structure in Milan. I mean, he plays alongside Alessio, I can't remember, Romagnoli, the Italian, and they've been totally stalwart. I mean, I think it's in 14 matches, 8 goals has been conceded or something crazy like that.
Wow.
And we're talking about a Milan side who, when they won a match, they won like 4-3 or 3-2. They always let in 1 or 2 goals. So
yeah,
they've really sealed it, and he will be one to watch, I think, if he can continue his current form, because I think it's you have to take into consideration the fact that the whole COVID-19 and a lot of matches, like every other day, I think they play one match or another. How many players will be tired? How many players will be almost exhausted for playing? I mean, Christian Eriksen played last Friday, for God's sake. I mean, the final, which they lost, but they still played. That's crazy. We're talking August. We're talking the next season starts here in like 2 weeks or something like that. I mean, crazy. Other than that, I hope you will see more to Kasper Dolberg. I'm a big fan of his. Plays in Nice in France. He's just a goal scorer. I mean, physical, no-nonsense player, but has a foot and a strike that if you try to intercept it, you'll get hurt. I mean, he has the hardest shot I've ever seen.
Really?
So I would say Christian Eriksen, Simon Kjær, the captain, and perhaps Kasper Dolberg. The rest can be good as well, but those 3 men, also Kasper Schmeichel, of course, but that's like the 3 or 4 men that has to deliver. If they do that, then I'm happy. Then I think that they can lift the rest of the squad.
Okay. I mean, there was one player that I noticed, and it was only because they said that he'd returned to the national team after being away for 7 years. Which player called, is it Rasmus Falk?
Yeah, that is correct.
How has that come about?
He played recently versus Manchester United in the quarterfinal in the Europa Cup, and he's been really, really good. The fun thing about Rasmus Falk, if you like such stories, is that he's a boyhood friend of Christian Eriksen. They are the same age. They grew up together. They played in the local squad together. Christian Eriksen's father was his coach, and now they play together. And they are still friends to this day. And now they play together in the national side. I think that's a good story in itself. But Rasmus Falk from Copenhagen is, I think actually he's almost the only one called off from the Danish Superliga. If not, I think I'm correct about that. The only player from the Danish Superliga to be called up. West plays in Germany, England, Italy.
So everyone else is playing abroad.
Yeah, we have only one domestic player. That's where we have.
Well, which kind of brings us on to what I wanted to touch on was obviously the COVID situation for supporters. Even though the game is being played behind closed doors, I was going to ask you if you knew what sort of restrictions were in place, and that would apply, I guess, both to players coming in from overseas, and indeed supporters coming into Copenhagen.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure UEFA has said that it will be played behind closed doors, the game itself. So if you're talking about attendance in itself, I don't think there'll be any. If so, it'll be minimal.
We do know a few England fans that will just make the trip just because.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they more the merrier. But I think that if you fly to Copenhagen, the airport, you will be stopped in the airport and you will be asked to take a test, like a COVID-19 test. And there will be some restriction. I don't know if you have to quarantine yourself. It depends really what kind of the part of the world you come from. I haven't got the details right about this, but it depends where you come from. You have to quarantine, but the same with the players. I know that most of the players now have gone on the summer holidays, but they have already returned to Denmark because they will. If you're from some part of the area, like Matthias Sanka is from, plays in Fenerbahce in Turkey, so there will be like 14 days quarantine no matter what, and you have to be tested and so on. And he already returned to Denmark so that he will be fit to play in the matchups because it's summer holiday, his family here in Copenhagen, but also the fact that he knows that I have to be fit and ready to play, and that happens to be that you have to quarantine yourself. So he's already done it. I remember as well, I think Daniel Vaz from Valencia, I think he had to do it himself. I'm not quite sure about the Spanish situation completely, but I think he had to do it. Same with Martin Braithwaite from Barcelona. Other than that, I don't think there are other restrictions in place. I mean, I think the only thing I know is that the nightlife has closed, so you can't go out like you used to for beers or clubbing or anything like that.
Right. Is it sort of a lockdown as such?
Yeah, for the entertainment industry it is. I mean, concerts and whatever. So I know that I think it's at 2 a.m. I think they close the pubs, and this is actually a trial right now to see if it can work. So usually it was 12 or midnight. They had closed down, but now they are trying to have them open to 2.
Okay, so they are still open to a certain extent.
Yeah,
and of course there is the Carlsberg Brewery as well, isn't there? Is that open?
Oh, God, yeah. It's actually in Copenhagen. It's actually like 3 kilometers where I live. So you have to take that into consideration because I think aren't they the sponsor for England as well? I can't remember. Or were they the sponsor from England?
Good question. They may well have been. God, there might be a conflict of interest there, mightn't there?
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. Because I'm pretty sure they once sponsored England. I don't know if it's like 1 year or 2 years ago, but they are also. That's one part. They're not the sponsor of Denmark.
Are they not?
No, they are not. There's some rules about that due to alcohol and so on in Denmark. Because I think the sponsor in Denmark is a bank and the betting firm. I think those are the main sponsors for Denmark. And we used to have, which was more famous, is that Lurpak, the butter, was the best known sponsor for Denmark. I mean, they were everywhere. And now it's the brewery has never been the top sponsor for Denmark.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, and what about other things?
Traders.
You don't be drinking that. Drink something else.
Nope. Yeah.
I mean, it's been quite some time since I went to Denmark. It was a long time ago. What would you suggest for anyone coming to Copenhagen to see and do?
Yeah, I was about to say that because you have the COVID-19 situation, which doesn't make it even better. But of course, you have Tivoli Gardens, which is in the middle of the square in Denmark. I mean, it is literally in the middle of Copenhagen, where you can go and have a great food, drinks. It's an amusement park, really. So you have to do that if you are in Denmark and say it's your first time visiting. Other than that, I would say go about in the boroughs as far away from the other tourists and just enjoy yourself. I mean, there's a lot to do, a lot to see. Then there is New Harbour, which is famous for its buildings being other colors. I mean, there are great. There's many things to do in Denmark, and especially Copenhagen. But of course, the COVID-19 situation doesn't make it easier. So I have no idea what's open and what's closed. Like for real, I know Tivoli is open, so I recommend Tivoli, not Carlsberg Brewery. Stay away from that.
And is the Little Mermaid as well down by the harbour, which occasionally gets stolen, doesn't it?
Yeah, and her head gets chopped off, and political statements get printed on her. I mean, she is really enduring. But I would say, how can I put this politely? If you think that the mermaid, I mean, it's called the Little Mermaid. It's in its name. So she's very, very small. So if you think you're going to see a statue like Statue of Liberty, you've got to be very disappointed.
That's right, yeah. Well, we wandered off on a bit of a tangent there, but no, it's always good to hear about little things going on in the cities that hopefully we can all come and enjoy again at some stage. And the game's going to be played at the Parken Stadium, isn't it?
The National Stadium, Denmark. Yep.
Yeah. What's that like? It's going to be. Have they played many games there without supporters?
I think there's one or two only. The thing about Parken is that it's always been there with Denmark play. Like you have Wembley, we have Parken. It's also It's also the stadium for FC Copenhagen. And the thing about Parken is that in itself, it's a great stadium. I mean, it was built way before, but it got renovated in the 90s. So it's what you expect from a stadium from the 90s. I mean, it's not the best facilities, but it's okay. What you can expect from it, I mean, if you're an Arsenal fan, you actually played there when you played Parma in the what do you call it?
94 European Cup final. Alan Smith scored that one.
Yeah, okay. And so you remember that stadium. That's a game we played there. It's one of the most dull games ever, but we played there. And other than that, no, I mean, it's not a architectural, what you call it, a great structure of any kind. I mean, it's a fine stadium. The best thing about it, if I have to be completely honest, is that from a TV perspective, it has been praised and praised for the way that you view the pitch on a TV, because the cameras are placed. It's actually built to be better for television than it is for the attendees going there. And that's because of how it was in the 90s when the TV really got into its game of football, right? I mean, so other than that, no, it's not the best stadium in the world. I mean, I have been to Wembley. I've been to the Emirates. I mean, come on. I mean, those are big, manifold structures that knows how to cater football fans. This doesn't. So if you go, and it's possible in the future that you can go into the park, I hope you're going to watch a good game, because you don't go with us with the stadium.
I mean, it's good that it is known for being the best TV viewing stadium, because that's what we're all going to be doing.
Exactly.
So, well, we're looking forward to the game, and it is unfortunate that we can't be there. But Claus, thank you very much for your time, for telling us a little bit about Copenhagen and Denmark and the game. And you're on Twitter. Let's just remind everyone of what that account is again.
It is at Danish Footy. I will be writing mostly in English about Danish football news. So you can catch up on the latest news perfectly about the game versus England.
That's great. And Claus, then maybe we can speak again on the return game.
Sure, if we win. No, of course. I mean, I'll be delighted to, Russell. This has been fun.
That'd be great. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you to both Claus and Marc there, and you can find them both on Twitter at Danish Footy and at Marc Boal, MarcBoal, or just search Icelandic Football UK. I enjoyed both of those. I hope you did too. It was good to get back to speaking with people like this, as I now know it means England are closer to returning to action. Thank you also for listening and for your continued support to the podcast. It's the start of a very busy period for international football. Obviously, Iceland and Denmark this month, Wales, Belgium and Denmark all at home next month, then Belgium away and Iceland at home in November. So we'll have plenty of squads to talk about, games to preview and digest, and people to speak with. And I still have some of your first away game episodes to release. I'll try and squeeze those in too. Now, if you'd like to get in touch, please find me on the social channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast, or you can email me the old-fashioned way, 3lionspodcast@gmail.com. In the meantime, enjoy the matches. It's good to have you back, England. If you are heading out to Iceland or Denmark, take care. Likewise, if you're staying at home, take care. Stay safe and stay subscribed. Cheers.